Hello, and welcome to Chapter 9 in Healthcare Supervision. I'm giving you a little information and kind of a little tutorial here on your case study 611. Your case study, you're going to be calculating release of information, staffing levels, and in our example here that I put together, we're going to talk about outpatient coding. The concept's still going to apply. Now, this is not specifically discussed in the chapter, but I wanted to bring it into this chapter because we get to talking about productivity standards in chapter 9, talking about how many charts should they code per hour, how accurate should they be, how many lines should they type per hour if they're a transcriptionist, how accurate should they be. So to have that in place, you actually have to have the appropriate number of staff. Now, we're going to talk about how we get the appropriate number of staff based on the work that those staff are going to complete. So, I know Miss Vaughn said y'all had kind of done some of this maybe in stats, calculating FTEs. You will possibly have calculating FTEs on the RHIT, so I want to go over it a little more in detail. All right, so some of the important things that you have to know when you're wanting to calculate staffing levels. So, first of all, how many hours are in a workday? Are you going to go by 7.5 hours because they have a 30-minute lunch? Are you going to go by 8 hours? What if they work 10 hours a day? Are you going to go by 9.5 hours, 10 hours? So you have to know that. Okay, then you need to know what activities are going to be completed. So in our coding example, we're looking at outpatient coders. How many outpatient coders are needed when they work an 8-hour day? What activities will the coders be completing? Okay, and then how long does it take to complete each activity? Now, I'm going to move down just a little bit so we can see my table here, but we have a table here that's going to show us, and it may be small, you might not be able to see it well, but it shows us the different chart types that the outpatient coders are going to code. It shows how often they have charts for each of those chart types, and then the completion type completion time per chart type. Okay, so our last need to know was whether those items are done every day or whether you just have so many in a week's time. Okay, so let's go back to our chart. So we have ER charts, outpatient surgery, and observation. Now, if you look closely in your how often column, ER and outpatient, they have 70 per day and 65 per day. Okay? If you look in your how often column for your outpatient surgery and your observations, they have 50 per week and 25 per week. Okay? So we're not at a set number per day, but we're looking at a certain amount of time each week set aside for those coding. Now we have our completion time. So we know that it takes 15 minutes to code an ER chart. It takes 10 minutes to code an outpatient chart. It takes 20 minutes to code an outpatient surgery chart. And it takes 25 minutes to code an observation chart. So now we have all of the pieces that we need to complete this puzzle. So our question was, how many outpatient coders are needed when they work an 8-hour day? Okay, so we're talking about a 5-day work week, Monday through Friday. And so now we need to figure out how many minutes we're going to have as far as how many minutes does it going to take to complete all of this in a 5-day work week? How many staff do we have to have? Okay, so we're first going to take our ER, and we're just going to make our little notes here. So we have ER, and we're going to say 70 times 15. Okay, that's the time. So we have ER charts takes 15 minutes, and we have 70 of them. And then we still have to multiply that times 5 because they're done 5 days a week. Okay, so 70 ER charts times 15 minutes each times 5 days per week. So 70 times 15 times 5. That is 70 times 15 times 5. So that is 5,250 minutes. okay? And I'm just going to put a little parentheses over here with the M. So we know that that is minutes, okay? So you do the same thing for outpatient. We have 65 charts per day times 10 minutes per chart times 5 days a week. And that equals 3,250 minutes. Okay? All right. If we keep going, we have our OP surgery, and we have 50 per week. So we just have 50. But they take 20 minutes per chart. Okay? Now we're not doing times 5 here because we only have 50 over that 5-day period. So that could be 10 a day, it could be 15 on one day and 5 the next, and then 10 a day for the rest of the week. It just depends on where they fall in that surgery schedule for this facility. So 50 times 20 is our equation, and that is 1,000 minutes. Okay, now we have observation, and we have 25 per week, so 25 total times 25 minutes. Okay, so 25 times 25 is 625 minutes. Okay, so now we need to add up all of these minutes, okay? So 5,250 plus 3,250 plus 1,000 plus 625. And that is a total of 10,125 minutes, okay? And I'm going to write that down. So in 1 week's time, 1 work week, Monday through Friday, it's going to take about 10,125 minutes to code this outpatient volume, okay? But now we got to figure out, well, how many minutes does one coder work in 1 work day? So our example showed that our coder day is going to be 8 hours, okay? So how many minutes are in 8 hours? So we do 8 hours times 60 minutes, okay? So 8 times 60 is 480 minutes, okay? So a single coder works 480 minutes. Make sense? Everybody got it? Okay, so now we need to determine how many coders do we need that work 480 minutes a day to complete 10,125 minutes of work. Okay, so take a second and think about how we're going to do that. How would we get there? Okay, anybody have a clue? All right, so first of all, let's think about this. This is how many minutes we're going to do in a week. This is how many minutes they work in a day, okay? How many minutes is that one person going to work in a week? So just like up here with our ERs, when we had times 5 days, we need to do the same thing for 480. So our new equation becomes 8 times 60, 8 hours times 60 minutes times 5 days. Okay, so this is 1 day. This is 1 week. So what is the math there? So we do 8 times 60 times 5. So one coder works 2,400 minutes in a week. So now we've got apples to apples. So we've got 10,125 minutes per week for coding. And now one coder works 2,400 minutes per week. Okay, so now we just divide. So we divide 10,125 by 2,400. Okay, so what is that math? 10,125 divided by 2,400. And that is 4.21875. That's where my calculator cuts that off. Okay, so what that tells me is that I need 4.2 full-time equivalents to complete that coding in 1 week's time. Okay, so I took all my numbers above and I figured out how long it was going to take each week to code my ERs. So 70 charts times 15 minutes each times 5 days a week, because 70 per day. Same for outpatient. 65 charts times 10 minutes each times 5 days a week. Outpatient surgeries and our observations, they were only per week. So 50 charts times 20 minutes, 25 charts times 25 minutes. And we get our total number of minutes. We add it up. I hate when I do that. We add it up and we come out to 10,125 minutes total. Then we figure out our coder. So in one day they code 480 minutes. But we needed to know how much they coded in a week. So we calculated that, 480 times 5. Okay, so that totals up to 2,400 minutes per week for one coder. Then we just divide the total number of coding minutes it should take to complete the work by the number of minutes that one coder is going to work. And we come down to 4.2 FTEs. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to email me or message me through GroupMe. I'll be here to answer your questions. I want to make one clarification in your case study, and I'll make this in the module as well so everybody can see it. But in your release of information task, it shows one miscellaneous request. Take that as there is one miscellaneous request per day, because again, we're talking about 20 pieces of mail per day. Now, it says you've got 5 of those are attorney requests, 5 of those per week are subpoenas, 9 per day are insurance requests, and then 1 per day is a miscellaneous request. So just remember, miscellaneous request is 1 per day. And then you have your 20 walk-ins per day. So same concept of what we just did. You're just going to figure out how long it takes to do each activity. And again, pay attention to whether that's something that's done every day or if it's something done weekly. So anyway, again, if you need to reach out to me, that's fine. Again, email or through GroupMe, I will be available to help you out. Thank you very much.